This podcast contains strong language and discussions about relationships and sex. It may not be suitable for younger listeners. This is the Sex in Singapore City podcast, and I'm Nixalina Watson. Hi guys, it's me. Another Monday, another episode. I hope you're all doing good. Excited for this week, ready to take work on or not, as the case may be. This episode is a topic that is quite niche in that it's only going to apply to a handful of people. But if you've been through it, or know someone who's going through it, or perhaps for a future you, if you go through it, then I think we should talk about it. So this is, what do you do when sex leaves the relationship? Now, this is a very tricky subject in that it's always case by case, and it's very hard to navigate because you never know if it's a rough patch or it's the demise of the relationship in general. Now, when I say the sex leaves the relationship, what I mean is you don't physically want sex with your partner anymore, or you find reasons to not want to have sex. You don't have enough time to have sex. You find a lot of excuses coming up to not have sex. You both perhaps seem to have filled a routine that doesn't have space for sex, or it's like an elephant in the room that no one's discussing. And this can happen to any couple. It's certainly not like, oh, you must fulfill all of these attributes and you won't have sex. It can any couple at any time. It doesn't have to be a long-term relationship, although majority of the time it is. But you've been together a short while, maybe less than a year, and there's no sex as there was. There can be a lot of contributing factors to sex leaving the relationship. An example is COVID, right? We are all living through very troubled times. There is a lot of stresses, especially mentally, that no one's been really preparing us for, and it doesn't seem to be getting much better, and it kind of feels like almost like a long slog, like a marathon. 2020. Oh, fucking hell. 2020 is awful. It's called a spade. But it's like another month of not being able to leave the island. Another month of, having to wear a mask as soon as we leave the house, having to check in everywhere. This whole year has just been all these extra stresses, worries about money. And the worst of it in the summer, people didn't know if they were going to have jobs left. And it's still happening now, of course. People worried about income. So when you've got something as global as this happening, it really affects your mindset. And of course, sex is like a positive space mindset, and your want for a physical attention and your want for an orgasm and stuff. That's usually when you're in a good headspace, or when you want to make up, right, after an argument. Make-up sex is fantastic. But when you're constantly stressed or living in a very troubled time, it is hard to have a sex drive like you used to. It really is. I'm personally, I wouldn't say my sex drive was the same as it was, but I still want to orgasm a lot. But I guess the way I used to be towards sex, I do feel very different about it in this year because my mind is constantly focused. It feels like I'm focused on something else all the time. So external factors can really play into, your sexual appetite, and it doesn't have to be about your partner. It can just be about you not having a high libido at the time, right? But also, if you have stresses within the relationship, that then, of course, affects your sex drive. It could be that every time you have an argument, you guys sort of drift further away sexually. It could be that you guys don't have arguments, but kind of feel lost compared to how you used to. You don't feel as a team or connected. You feel disconnected from each other. And it's not burdened with any extreme emotion. It's almost indifference, like a mate, a housemate. And that means you kind of don't have that sexual connection anymore. Or it could be that your relationship has traversed into this brother and sister role where you love and care about them so much, but you're not sexually attracted. It could be that you have a personality of habits. You have, say, an addictive personality, and your habit used to be having a lot of sex, and for some reason perhaps you've changed your job, perhaps you've now in a different crowd, or for whatever reason you don't have the same time as you used to have for sex. So your habit has become, well, I do that Friday and I do that Saturday, and that's your new habit formed. And now sex is sort of, the less you do it, the less you want to do it. Now it's an old habit, right? So that might be a way it gets lost. It could be that one of you is really pushy with sex, forcing sex on the other one, which makes, of course, ironically, because it's sod's law, the other one further away. Like, no, to stop pushing it on me. There are so many different reasons and factors. I'm just throwing some at you that I can think of at the top of my head. People that have spoke to me throughout the years, my own personal experiences. It could be a number of the things or more. But whatever the reason, the sex has left the relationship. So what do you do? Firstly, you don't make any rash decisions. Why? Because it could be just a rough patch. It could be just a sexless phase of your relationship, which is very, very normal. Especially the longer you go, the more settled you get together. Even moving in with each other completely changes your sexual dynamic. When you're living apart and you want every moment together and, oh my God, I miss you, I miss you, I miss you, I miss you, I miss you. And then when you live together, I can't miss you because you're right. You're right there. And yeah, you're fucking right there. Every morning, every evening, there you are, motherfucker. Miss you? I wish I had space to miss you. I really do. So even that big, bold step, we're so in love, everything's amazing, let's move in together. Oh, that might change it. Dynamics have changed. There's now less want to have sex. Well, it doesn't matter. I don't have to desperately have sex tonight because I'm going to see you tomorrow night. I'm going to see you the next night or the next night or the next night, right? Though it doesn't matter. There's no urgency anymore. There's like a whole world of fucking sexless options here as to why it happens. But yes, the main point is don't rush a decision because it's quite normal. You know, like I've heard even when you get married, like you take that next big step, it might have a sexless phase. When you have a kid, I mean, physically, she might not even be able to have sex for a while. So there's all these different areas and stages in life where sex goes out the relationship. So what you need to do, my humble personal opinion, I'm by no means the pillar of truth on this at all, is just kind of sit back and start evaluating, so there's no sex, right? When was the last time I had sex? Are we talking like a week? If you used to have sex 5 times a day and now it's only weekly, I think you're all right. If you have sex, I don't know, now only like once a month, once every 2 months, perhaps it's been 6 months and you've not had sex. Has it been longer than 6 months and you've not had sex? Then we start to delve into a territory where it needs to probably be addressed. When one of you wants sex more than the other, that's already a communication table, right? That needs to be happening because I jest, but if one of you wants sex 5 times a day and you then can only handle the other one gets once a week, that's a misalignment, isn't it? Because the one who only wants it once a week is going to feel exhausted 5 times a day. The one who wants it 5 times a day is going to feel rejected when they only get it once a week and frustrated. So even that needs a chat. And talking about sex is really awkward, I'm not going to lie, especially with your partner. But it's a key component to holding every relationship together and really needs kind of to be discussed without any issues or covering up, just honesty. So depending on how long I think sex has left the relationship for, and depending on how many times you try to bring it up, this will depend on how the conversation goes and how I guess you move forwards. If one of you really refuses and is absolutely not interested in sex and it's been a very, very long time, then it might be worth readdressing whether that relationship is right. Because while sex is not the be-all and end-all of relationships, it really is a large part of it. It's your connection together, it's your intimacy, it's your physical connection, and it is unfortunately is a big deal. It's part of how compatible you are as a partner, as a couple. Sorry. So yeah, I would address it. I wouldn't make any rash decisions, and perhaps rather than make it into a big deal, because then it might escalate into a bigger deal because there's pressures now because it's on the table, maybe you can say, like, hey, spice it up. I don't know, like, hey, let's, give me an hour on Saturday, or give me on Sunday an hour, and I want to, see you for a bit, and don't have to perhaps say, I want to fuck your brains out. But you can ask for some time and then, take them to the bedroom or whatever floats your boat, wherever you usually do it. But yeah, try and perhaps see if you can bring the sex back. If you're the one that doesn't want to bring the sex back, and the thought of having sex with them, I really can't be bothered next. I don't want to carve an hour out. I'd rather do what I want with my mates on my Saturday than wait for him and have sex with him. If that's how you're feeling, you might need to have a chat with yourself about this relationship. Have you been feeling like this way because it's your time of the month and you're just pissy? Have you been feeling this way because there's external stressors? Once again, if you're saying to yourself, I actually don't want to have sex with him, don't then go, oh, I don't love him. Don't make any rash decisions on this topic. That's I'm going to say that till I'm blue in the face because it's really important. Don't do it. Just go, right, why could I possibly not want to have sex? So maybe if it's got to this issue, write it down. I don't want to have sex because, I don't know, he's put on weight. I don't want to have sex because I don't come. I don't want to have sex because I'm fucking tired all the time. I don't have sex because he's really moody at the moment. I don't have sex because I'd rather be with my friends. Just whatever it is, write it down. And perhaps if you're having a very open conversation, ask him to write it down as well and see whether you can work together and getting over this. What I would also say, sorry, off the point of that, is write down, say, how often you have sex. Right? We can always put it in our heads, I don't have sex anymore. You had sex 2 weeks ago. Oh, yeah. Yeah, but apart from that, yeah, but what about the time you got drunk? Well, I don't remember it. Yeah, but you still had sex. Oh, yeah. So write down, yeah, okay, I had sex 2 months ago. I had sex 6 months ago, right? Write down what that means to you. Is that enough? No. How often would I ideally want sex? How often did we used to have sex? Okay, we used to have sex every day, and now we only have it once every 2 weeks. Okay, that's a big change. But at least you're still having sex. If you're in a relationship where it's literally nothing for months and months on end, and neither one of you are instigating it, and neither one of you want to instigate it, yes, that does need a proper conversation, because I don't think that means there's a long-term plan for this relationship if you got to that point. But I do believe sex comes in waves in relationships, and just because it's sexless at the moment, or it has been sexless for a while, doesn't mean that you're not meant to be together. It could actually just be a misinterpretation of each other's feelings. There could be a roadblock in your communication, and it could, believe it or not, be something made into a positive. So you could fight your way through this together, really open up that channel of communication and say, hey, look, we're not having sex, right? let's be honest with each other. We used to have sex a lot. I've noticed you're kind of always tired. I'm always not really horny. Like, let's work on this together, okay? So when do you think you might not be tired to want to have sex with me? Right, I'm going to not be moody. I'm going to put myself in a really relaxing mindset. Maybe I'll go and get a massage. Maybe I'll have a few drinks to chill out, and then like create a space where you could have sex. A lot of the times, I genuinely believe it's a habit. Humans are creatures of habit. And when we get into a habit of not having it, and then we just sort of like everything else becomes just, more important, or all the white noise is more important than the actual bare roots and connection of your relationship. But if you start the engine and ignite it on purpose yourselves, okay, it might be a bit awkward because you're both there the first time, like, fucking hell, we haven't had sex in 6 months and I feel like this is forced as fuck. What do I do? Oh God, it's really awkward. I don't remember him looking like that. Is his penis really that shape? Oh my God, I haven't had a blowjob in forever. It might all be going on in your head, right? It might all be a bit awkward, but push through that. Literally. Push hard through all that and then keep going. So maybe like, right, okay, let's make sure we do that every week, even if it's just once a week. Make it a new habit. And then you'll start, it might be comfortable first 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And then you will start to like, oh, okay, no, I'm so into this. I love it. You might start looking forward to it again. Fuck it. I want it on this day. I can't wait to come home to you again. I'm not going to throw the cliches out like buy sexy lingerie or introduce sex toys to spice up the bedroom, because I'm not washing with that at the moment, because you can put on a really sexy pair of pajamas, you don't have to go and spend all this money on lingerie. I love lingerie and it's beautiful and great, but that for me is putting a plaster over a bullet wound, rather than taking the bullet out and stitching the wound up completely. I know I've just made a reference to being shot and talking about sex. Sorry if that analogy was wrong, but it sums up what I'm trying to say perfectly. So we're just going to roll with it. So you don't want to put a plaster, right, over the top. You want to stitch it up, because then it properly heals. So I think I'm going to say it again. Don't make any rash decisions. Don't say anything rash, because things with sex is such a delicate topic and people are very fragile, and you don't want to say anything that is unrepairable at this stage. So it has to sort of be approached with care and caution. And I think you first have to work on each other separately. So you do your list. Why do I not want to have sex? Okay. Or I want to have sex and he doesn't. Why do I think he doesn't want to have sex? How many times have I asked him and he doesn't want it? When did he used to have sex? How did he used to be? Either way it is, whether it's you or them or both, just write it all down and try and get your head around it first separately. And then find a nice calm space when you're both relaxed to say, hey, can we just talk about sex for a moment? Like, it's not an issue, even though it might be. Just say it's not. But I really think it's something we need to discuss. If you try this, nothing changes. If your partner is not willing to even carve out any time, or not willing to give it a go, or says, look, I'm just not interested, or doesn't even want to talk about it, and there continues for a month, 2 months, 3 months to still be no sex, I think there's your answer, right? It basically means, are you going to put up with this for the rest of your relationship? Or is it a very clear sign that perhaps it's time to move on? It's not, a breakup is never something that any one of us wants to really have to address, but it doesn't always have to be a bad thing. It could just be sort of getting you out of the relationship that's not quite right for you to make you find the one that is. But yeah, please take this one slowly. If you're currently in that phase where there's no sex, feel free to message me. We can talk it out. Please make the list separately and together. Talk about with each other, perhaps why, or like be honest, do you not want to have sex? it me, or is it work is too stressful? Is it the baby? Is it since we moved in with each other? Is it COVID? Try and make it a very calm space for people to be honest with their feelings, and you might see a huge difference. The other person might be hoarding all this up and go, oh God, finally I got an outlet. Finally I don't want to upset her, or I didn't realise she'd be so, understanding, but I can actually tell how I feel. That might take all the pressure off, and you actually then have amazing sex at night. You never know. If you don't worry. Try. Like I said, try and form a new habit, try and introduce it back in, keep the conversation going, keep writing down your list, your journal, reasons why you do or you don't want to have sex, and work through it in a very non-rash manner. And if you get to the point where you go, fucking hell, Nix, it's just not happening, I'm not interested, or he's not interested, it's been this long, I've tried everything, then I think we have our answer, don't we? I hope that helped, guys. I'm sorry I'm not going to end on a super, super high note with that one. I will say, in fact, no, let's turn it around. I will say that often that the troughs and lows of having no sex are quickly recovered. And it is pretty normal. I do want to make that clear. It is pretty normal. It happens to the best of us. No relationship, I don't think, is sexually wild from day one until the grave, right? It just, especially like I said at the beginning, during this time, during COVID, we're all pretty mentally fucked. We kind of got a lot on our plate. So if you're feeling it now and you never had it before, give yourselves a break and go, hey, listen, I know we're not having sex, but fucking hell, 2020 is awful, innit? And just be open about it and have a laugh even, if that's the route you want to go down. But it can be changed. It can be fixed. It doesn't mean you're wrong together. It doesn't mean it's the end of time, unless you're the previous example. And then, yes, it might be time to move on. And that's it from me. And I look forward to seeing you all next Monday for another fun topic of my podcast. And as always, thanks for listening. And come say hi to me on Instagram at Nixalina, Nixalina. Peace out. Thanks for listening to the Sex and Singapore City podcast. This episode was produced and hosted by me, Nixalina Watson, and recorded at the Splicecast studio in Singapore. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, and all major podcast listening apps. Do subscribe for a new episode every single week. Please do give us a 5-star review. It helps other people find our podcast. We're also on social media with Facebook and the Gram. Don't be shy, send me a message and come say hello. For more information and to read more articles, please do come over and say hey at sexandsingaporecity.com. That's sex and AND singaporecity.com.